Give a couple of minutes, see if anybody gets on. So normally I'm in my truck, but wife needed it for some of her friends to get some furniture, some crap like that. So I am in the Camaro, and I am remembering why I went to a truck. I do not fit as well in the Camaro. Yeah, more it hurts my back getting in and out, especially since I've got a bad back. And my poor service dog. She just doesn't quite fit in there as well. So, but it's alright. I'll survive. So I kind of want to get on. There's been a lot that's been happening. You know, we had the Ring of Fire solar eclipse. So I find that very interesting that 15 days apart, you had a rare superflower blood moon, and then a Ring of Fire solar eclipse. Not sure how often those actually coincide with one another. That is not my forte. However, due to the days, and that's odd, I saw police. Anyways, due to the times that we appear to be in, it really makes me wonder if God isn't, signaling things or communicating either starts or ends or upcoming things. Not quite sure. But I am very interested in watching and finding out. On top of that, this Sunday, unless God intervenes somehow, a liberal government could be sworn in to run Israel. I really do not see God very happy about that, especially since one party that is part of the coalition that will be governing Israel for the next 4 years has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, as well as you've got one, how can I say, openly alternate lifestyle leader who will be part of that coalition that governing Israel. Again, I'm not going to get into the whole hashing of that deal. I think the Bible's very clear about it, and I will leave it at that. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got family and friends who are that way, like that, and I love them dearly, and I don't think anything less of them. But I personally go by what the Bible says. Those are my views. So I really don't see God being too happy about this liberal-leaning government leading Israel. And I've got a few questions regarding that. And again, this is just me thinking out loud because this is what my brain does. This is how I think of things and deal with things. So God definitely is not very happy because a lot of that goes contrary to his, what he says is right and wrong, and others is because they go against his people. So God could intervene in a couple ways. The Benjamin Netanyahu, the current leader of Israel, prime minister, I believe they call him, he's known as a magician and pulling rabbits out of the hat last minute to make the unthinkable thinkable. We've already seen one unthinkable. That's with this coalition forming. But he could get one or two of those leaders that are forming this coalition and get them to say, you know what, don't want to be a part of it, not dealing with it, nope. And if they fall off, they lose. If he gets one or two people that pull off, they no longer have 61 seats needed to be sworn in and govern. And Israel will be forced into a fifth election. That's one thing that could happen. And God could cause it to happen. He could also cause the rapture to happen, which I don't believe is out of the realms of possibility. Not saying it's going to. I'm just saying this is a possibility of what he could do to keep it from happening. An event such as the rapture happening would cause so much chaos throughout the world. I highly doubt Israel would have the mind frame to swear in the new government, as well as there would also begin the rise of AC, which I believe would also, all of that combined, would keep liberal-leaning government from governing Israel. So, we'll see. Or, they could be sworn in, and then God has the rapture happen sometime after, but not long enough to where they can do too much damage to the country. I'm thinking more along the lines of a what is that? Two territory state or two state agreement, whatever, some agreement between Israel and Palestine where they divvy up the land. Two-state solution. That's it. I really don't see God letting that happen. But that's one thing I definitely could see this liberal-leaning government pushing towards and trying to do. So it's interesting. This weekend is definitely going to be a very interesting weekend. On top of just that alone, and seeing what will happen, whether God will intercede and keep that government from taking over, or if he'll let it take over. It'll be interesting. And we've got our own crap over here. The news. I'm one, I like to read the news or just to find out what's going on. I take it with a grain of salt because there's what this news said, that news said, this news said, that news said, and then there's the truth somewhere in the mix of all of it. But it's so depressing now to even more than just headlines. The headlines are just, it's just murders, road rages, mass shootings, kids, being shot, parents killing their kids. It's horrendous. Just to see all the crap that's going on. And if it isn't about, all the criminal activity, then it's, politics and, showing how corrupt they are, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. So it's just really depressing. But, at least read the headlines to keep updated on what's going on. On top of that, you've got things, hey, Maggie, stop. You got things like sinkholes forming all over. Even Jerusalem had a sinkhole this week. Mexico's got sinkholes. Alaska's got sinkholes. Rome's got sinkholes. Sinkholes are happening all over, which really doesn't surprise me considering how much the earth has been shaken. The earth has been shaken because there's been earthquakes all over too. And of course, the news isn't reporting on all this, but part of me is wondering if they're not reporting on this because there's just too many to report on. Plus volcanic activity. The earth is just going through a terrible time right now. So adding sinkholes to the mix is not a surprise to me. And then, of course, now we're back into fire season. Even Jerusalem, on top of a sinkhole, has, or they may have gotten it. I don't think they've gotten it under control yet, but I could be wrong. But Jerusalem has had a forest fire set off nearby. I don't think it was done on accident, but I find that interesting as well. So I mean, you've just got things that are going on all over. But again, you know, all this really just doesn't surprise me. After the solar eclipse, you know, I'm really here in the very near future expecting things to get even bumpier and crazier. But that's just me. So for me, I just, you know, keep watching, keep looking up, trying to keep plugged in, but sometimes it's hard because it's just, at times it's so frustrating. But on the other side, the other thing I've noticed too is, for as much as other entities are being vocal about their values and beliefs, so are Christians. And, you know, I kind of said this on my Facebook page, and I'll say it here too. You know, I read one friend's post that I believe said it the best. Right now isn't a fight between Republicans and Democrats. It isn't even a fight between conservatives and liberals. It's a battle between good and evil. And that's exactly what's going on right now. There's literally a battle between good and evil waging, I'm pretty sure, pretty hard, as the final stage is being set up and it's pouring out into the physical realm. Which is why we're just seeing an increase of just what seems to be utter chaos. However, I guess in God's plans, it's not chaos, it's all just part of His plan. But that's what's going on, and with it, you know, for as much as, you know, the bad seems to be happening and seems to be taking note of in news media and social media and whatnot the most, if you look, you'll also notice that the good is becoming a lot more vocal about their views, a lot more vocal about their beliefs, not caring about what they're called. Most importantly, speaking up even more for God. And I think that is all very important. And I do not think any of that is an accident. It's all just, as I said, part of the battle between good and evil. So for me, it's very encouraging to see the rising number of people who are done being ashamed for having their biblical conservative values and beliefs, and speaking up for them, speaking out about them, and most importantly, speaking out on their faith. I say, if, you know, liberal-leaning mentality is allowed to shout from the rooftops their values and beliefs, then so should conservatives. That's the whole point of this country, freedom of speech. And I'm glad that the more specifically Christians, are done being silent and more are becoming vocal. It's very encouraging. And I thank God for that, because it's exactly what we need to be doing. So if you're getting down or frustrated or anything, just remember that is going on, and look for those things. Look for the people that are being vocal and pay attention to them. And that's just another way that we help encourage one another, and we basically just encourage one another. Along with, again, if you click with some of these Christians who are not afraid to be outspoken, encourage each other, that, you know, yes, we are in the end times. How much longer out of here before it gets to that point? But, you know, we will see. Again, a lot happening, a lot going on. Kind of hard to hit on all the main points. I'm trying cicadas that are, making life miserable up north. I think that's interesting. You're finding places finally coming out, and people are reporting that it's hard for farmers to grow things, which doesn't surprise me considering the World Health Organization came out last year and they said unless things change, which they haven't, which is pretty important. Oh, you also had come out that North Korea now has the world's biggest EMP bomb. That's really interesting. You think you set that off, and all of a sudden anything with a microchip is just not going to work. And think about how many war items, Iron Dome, Syria's own version of the Iron Dome, as well as any and all ballistic anything which has chips. If they're anywhere near, they're not going to work. Just kind of makes you wonder, And of course, North Korea's in cahoots with Russia and China, who also have their own versions of that. You got Iran, which has come out, and our own government and intel sources are saying they are at worst days, at best weeks, maybe a couple months, but more like weeks away from going on. And now they've just on steroids is really how I'm seeing it. Everything's kind of on steroids, but we're kind of in crunch time. And I think as we draw closer and closer to the rapture, things are going to get even worse and worse and worse. And part of me is wondering if that isn't what God was signaling with that blood moon and solar eclipse, saying, hey, shit's about to get real. Okay, he wouldn't say that, but me thinking, hey, stuff's about to get real. You need to pay attention. Non-believers, you need to wake up, stop burying your head in the sand, and realize and look at what's going on, and realize what's going on, and get right with God. Find God, get right with God. For sleeping Christians, you need to get right with God. And then for us believers, hey, hang in there. We're almost done. But that's me. Open to differing opinions. That's fine. But anyways, I just want to get on here and share what I've noticed this week. If you have any feedback, feel free to provide it. I think things are really going to start getting really interesting as we progress. And every time I say that, sure enough, stuff happens. And as I said, it's on steroids right now. Roid rage is about to start. Yeah, that's it. I see roid rage unfolding on the earth here pretty soon. But anyways, just wanted to encourage you guys that, for as much evil as there seems to be going on in the world, there's also a lot of good and a lot of people that are voicing in their stance with God and trying to share the gospel and share their beliefs, probably like I really haven't seen in a while. So it's very encouraging for me to see. I encourage you guys to do the same. I'm trying to do the same, because one of these days, we're not going to have that opportunity anymore. Not that that's a bad thing. We're going to be in a much better place, but definitely take advantage, occupy and redeem the time that we still have. We're still here. We're not done yet. So definitely sound the alarm. And on that note, y'all have a good day, and I will see you on the next video if we are still here.